They came by the thousands, lined up in Houston's sweltering heat, full of grief and ready for change.
I'm here to pay respects to George Floyd.
We wanted to become a part of this movement of reminding everyone that we are all equal. We are all humans.
I was speechless, just standing there looking at him.
Paying their respects to George Floyd in his hometown today. His killing
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
at the hands of police, igniting 2 weeks of nationwide protests over the weekend in San Francisco, New York City, Los Angeles. In the nation's capital, civil rights icon Congressman John Lewis, 55 years after being beaten on that march to Selma, standing at the new mural, Black Lives Matter, painted just blocks from the White House. And among the chants, a growing cry to defund the police, the latest flashpoint in the fierce debate over how to reform and reimagine law enforcement to root out racial injustice. In Minneapolis, where Floyd died, the tense debate playing out on the streets as protesters clash with Mayor Jacob Fry.
We don't want no more police. Is that clear? We don't want people with guns toting around in our community, shooting us down. It is a yes or a no. Will you defund the Minneapolis Police Department?
I do not support full abolition of the police.
All right, get the out of here. Go.
His response leading to boos from the crowd. On the heels of this public rebuke, the Minneapolis City Council voting 9-3 in favor of disbanding the police department.
Our commitment is to end our city's toxic relationship with the Minneapolis Police Department.
Today, the mayor explaining his stance.
Let me be clear. I am for massive structural and transformational reform to an entire system that has not for generations worked for Black and brown people. We have failed them, and we need to entirely reshape the system.
The protesters were confronting the Minneapolis mayor and saying, do you believe in abolition of police, yes or no? What's the answer to that?
Well, I think that the answer to that, frankly, is no. The short answer is no. There will always be a role for police, but don't we have a more courageous imagination to see a society where so many people who are hurt, who are vulnerable, who are addicted, who are struggling with health challenges, aren't criminalized?
A former mayor, now Senator Cory Booker, made a name for himself in Newark, New Jersey, taking on a city with its own deep history of racial tensions and mistrust of police. There are those who think that by defunding the police, that will only lead to more crime on the streets. How do you respond to that?
I know about this as a mayor who dramatically lowered crime in Newark, New Jersey, that there is a balance here, and all strategies are critically important in terms of investing in things that lower crime. Drug treatment, mental health counseling, not criminalizing your children. For our safety, for the safety of our neighborhoods, the safety of our communities, we've got to start taking a different approach. And it doesn't mean abolishing police. It means police officers doing those things that society needs them to do, and begin to make massive investments and commitment to community care.
Already, some cities starting to restructure what public safety could look like. In New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio saying he would move funding from the police to youth initiatives. And in Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti saying he would redirect up to $150 million of the department's budget to community programs. But for some, blanket calls to defund are worrisome. In Houston's 3rd Ward, where George Floyd grew up, former police chief Charles McClellan says it's about defining what defunding means.
There are folks in the community that are calling for defunding police should understand how police budgets are put together, what they consist of, and those type of things. I do not support of taking away funds from the police agency and taking away their capabilities to keep communities and neighborhoods safe. I do support cities, municipalities, states, and the national government putting more resources into community programs.
In Washington, dueling messages in response to the nation's unrest. Today, President Trump praised members of law enforcement during a White House roundtable.
There won't be defunding. There won't be dismantling of our police.
While on Capitol Hill, congressional Democrats silently knelt for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And then proposed sweeping new measures for police reform, the Justice in Policing Act of 2020.
We must change laws and systems of accountability.
It starts with transparency into police use of force, police misconduct. Number two is for police officers who do wrong, there's an accountability now in the courts, either through civil cases by massively changing what's called qualified immunity to criminal prosecution. And then finally, it bans practices like chokeholds.
The dramatic surge of support that we're seeing on the streets, you clearly still have an uphill battle. How optimistic are you that you'll be able to get some Republican buy-in?
Well, let me just tell protesters out there that are nonviolently protesting, they made this bill possible 1 month ago. Writing this bill and getting this much support from Democrats, and it would not have been possible. I'm already in conversations with Republicans. I'm already trying to get them on parts of this bill or all of it. But I think the continued protests are going to change the realm of what's possible in America.
But what literally would you say to them to appeal to them in this moment to sign on to your legislation?
My appeal is don't be a bystander to history. Do something in the cause of your country. I couldn't be there for the Freedom Rides. I couldn't be there for sit-ins. I couldn't be there storming beaches in Normandy. You can't pay it back, pay it forward. In this, your moral moment, the voices of millions of Americans demanding change, nothing in our history has ever proven more powerful than that.
All of that social action inspired by this man. George Floyd's family tonight finding some comfort knowing that the movement sparked by his death lives on.
We will get justice. We will get it. We will not let this door close.
And now to one of the loudest voices calling for defunding of the police, Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar. Earlier today, I spoke with her about why and how. Congresswoman Omar, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've called the Minneapolis Police Department rotten to the core and a cancer that needs not only to be defunded, but to be dismantled. What does policing look like if it's defunded?
It looks like us trying to figure out how to reinvest in community. I mean, many people don't understand that here in Minneapolis, you know, we spent $193 million on policing. That's 6 times higher than what we spend on affordable housing, 11 times more than we spend on health, and 482 times more than we spend on crime prevention. And so this model of saying, not only do we need to defund, but we need to dismantle and start anew, allows us to really reimagine what public safety should look like in our community. There are many cases in which the police don't need to be involved. No one is advocating for a community that does not have the ability to have public safety. And so what we are advocating for is a reorientation, reimagining of what public safety should be, and having community be part of that conversation.
The mayor of Minneapolis was asked, do you believe in the abolition of police, yes or no? What's your answer, yes or no, abolition?
The police department here in Minneapolis needs to be dismantled, and we need to start anew.
Representative Omar, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.